What's up guys, Waggly here, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can get fully optimal controller binds, or at least the most optimal you could get depending on what kind of controller you have. If you play Claw or you want to learn Claw, then you will be able to have fully optimal controller binds without having any special type of controller. However, if you don't want to learn Claw or you're worried that it could hurt your fingers or something, because I think I've heard it's not very good for your fingers, but I'm not sure, that might not be true, then the only way to get fully optimal binds is to have a controller with paddles or any type of extra buttons, and that's what I use. I use the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. It comes with 4 extra buttons on the back and trigger stops on the triggers so I can fire as fast as possible. It has a few other fancy things like adjustable tension and stuff, but that doesn't matter as much as having extra buttons. So first, I'm going to show you guys the most optimal binds that you could have for if you have a normal controller. This could be Xbox or PlayStation. So in your settings, you want to make sure that your edit bind isn't hold to edit. Like, I think the default is B, where you hold B to edit and then you press B to switch mode. That is very inefficient and slow for editing. If you still have that, then you need to change it. I recommend edit with left stick because when you're editing, you don't ever have to take your fingers off of your joysticks. So that gives you the ability to edit while still having full control over your movement and aim. That's one of the most important things with optimizing your binds. That's why paddles are very helpful. So you could bind your paddles to switch mode, jump, pickaxe, and interact. That way you never have to take your fingers off your joysticks ever while playing. But if you have a normal controller, the best you can do is changing your edit bind. So like I said, I recommend making your edit bind a left stick. And if left stick is normally your sprint bind, then you're going to want to go to your settings here and turning on sprint by default. That way you won't need an actual sprint bind. And that frees up the left stick button on your controller for editing. Now, an accessory that I have on my controller is a scroll wheel. But there's this accessory that you can buy that you can attach onto your controller, but to use it, you will have to have a PC, and if you don't have a PC, then you can't do this. If you play controller on PC, then I really recommend getting this scroll wheel. It's called Controlla Scrolla. I made a video on it. It should be on the info card in the top of the screen if you're interested in it. What this does is it gives you the ability to reset your edits instantly. Just by scrolling on the scroll wheel, it'll reset your edits. But most of you won't have that, and that's totally okay. You don't need it. That's just for the fastest resets. You can still reset really fast without this. So if you're not using a scroll wheel, which most of you aren't, you want to go over to edit controls. You want to make your select RT and your reset LT. And if you didn't notice, I don't have a confirm button here. So in order to edit and reset with these binds without a confirm button, the first thing you need to do is go over to the game settings and enable confirm edit on release. So make sure this is turned on. So what this setting does is it allows you to edit something without pressing your confirm button. So as you can see when I edit here, no confirm button. All I do is press RT and let go. Okay, now resetting is a little different. So let's say you have an edit like this and you want to quickly reset it. You may try to reset it yourself, but it really seems like you can't without a confirm button, because if I press LT, it doesn't reset, like nothing happens. So what you need to do is press your edit button, and then once you're in this section, before pressing LT to reset, you need to first hold down RT and then hold down LT, then let go. So again, all I'm doing is after I edit, I select the edit. So what I'm doing is I'm holding down RT, which is my select edit button. Doesn't need to be on any particular squares, doesn't matter. I could do all of this if I wanted to. Then, while still holding RT, I hold down LT. I'm holding down both of them still, and then I let go. You may do this and hold down LT before RT, and that will not work because that'll make another edit when you do it that way. So you have to hold down RT before LT, so it fully resets it every time. So you can edit and reset pretty fast using these binds. So these edit and reset binds are what I believe are the fastest possible binds for editing and resetting besides using a scroll wheel. But in order to use that, you need a PC and you need to buy that as an accessory. Like for example, this is me using the scroll wheel. It looks like I'm using a mouse scroll wheel, but I'm literally just using the scroll wheel on my controller. But other than the scroll wheel, no other binds will be faster than that. So these are the most optimal edit binds for any controller. Now I'm going to show you the most optimal controller binds for if you have a controller with paddles. For example, the Xbox Elite Series 2 or 1 controllers, any SCUF controller. There's also that Astro controller, just any controller that comes with extra buttons that you can customize to whatever you want. For your binds to be fully optimal, you'll need to have 4 extra buttons. But if you only have 2 extra buttons, that's fine too, because you can still have much more optimal binds than without. It doesn't matter what controller you have. I just personally have the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. You just want to configure the buttons on the back of your controller to your pickaxe bind, your interact bind, your jump bind, and your select mode bind. So that way you can press all of those buttons without taking your fingers off the joysticks. If you have less than 4 paddles, then you can pick which ones you want, but in my opinion, definitely the most important is jump, and then you can choose which ones you think you want, like your pickaxe, your interact, or your select mode. But if you have 4 buttons, then you could just use all of them. So now that I have those actions bound to my paddles, while playing, I'll never have to take my fingers off the joysticks. So those are fully optimal controller binds. One of the things that makes controller better than keyboard is that you have the ability to have fully optimal binds, like I do. Because on keyboard you will always have to have one finger pressing multiple different buttons. But with these binds and with a controller with paddles, you will never have that issue. In case you're wondering, this is my sensitivity. I play on linear. I recommend linear much more than exponential because you can build and edit much better with linear and it's better for close range. But it really just comes down to preference. Like if you like playing long range and spraying people and that's your play style, you can use exponential. And hey, you can even switch to expo mid-game to beam some kid out of the sky. I just prefer linear because I feel like most fights are close range, and I do think it makes building and editing much easier. Down here, I play with 10% dead zones. You want to try to get the lowest dead zones you can to where you don't get any drift, because the higher dead zones you are, the more you'll have to move your joystick in order for it to work in game. So if I have 10% dead zone, then I'll have to move my controller joystick 10% for it to cause anything to happen in game. So try to keep this as low as possible. 10% on both of these is the best for me because I don't get any drift and it is still pretty low to where I can have fast, quick movements with my joysticks. Please make sure your aim assist strength is at 100%. There's literally no reason to not have it here. Unless you want to unnecessarily challenge yourself, keep this at 100. Look dampening time, I just leave this at 0.20. Same with ADS turning boost ramp time. I don't think these matter too much. But here, ADS turning horizontal and vertical boost, make sure these are at 0%. You don't want vertical or horizontal boost. So the ADS look horizontal and vertical speeds is just how fast your sensitivity is when you're aiming down sights. You want to make sure this is pretty low, much lower than your look sensitivity, so that you can aim easily while spraying with your AR long range, or if you aim down sights with your shotgun, you can get an easier shot. So you should keep this pretty low. I keep mine at 11%. You can keep turning boost ramp time at 0.20. Make sure these boosts are also off. My look horizontal and vertical speeds are at 43%. You can kind of play around with it and do whatever you like, but you should keep the horizontal and vertical pretty similar. Like, I wouldn't make them too drastically different. I personally keep mine exactly the same. Now, your build and edit mode sensitivity options, I recommend that these are, if not exactly the same, very similar, because already when you're switching from regular like shoot and aim mode to build mode, you're switching your sensitivity, and you don't want to switch between 3 different sensitivities. I recommend that you only have 2 different sensitivities, just your normal aim one and then the build and edit one. So I keep these both at 2.4 times, because when I'm switching from build mode to edit mode, the sensitivity won't be changing at all. It's only changing from shoot mode to build mode. And you want these sensitivities higher than your regular sensitivity so you can build and edit fast and it won't affect your aiming sensitivity. Definitely turn off vibration because it's annoying and it can affect how you play in game. Edit hold time, this shouldn't matter because you should have a dedicated edit button, but for whatever reason you don't have a dedicated edit button and you have to hold to edit, make this as low as possible. And definitely have Builder Pro build immediately on so you can build as fast as possible. So if you guys found this video helpful, then make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!